Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unboxed. Today we're going to talk about building the Black family, conflict, and stress. Stick around as we unbox the power and the potential of the Black family. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach, and welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Robert Davis. Welcome to Unboxed. We're continuing to focus in on the Black family. The Black family. I want to ask you to do me a favor before we get started. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Yes, like, subscribe, and share. And I'm going to lay a foundation today. And so I solicit all of your prayers. Before I lay that foundation, I solicit your prayers. I'm on my way now to the Restoration Church here in Denver. We are going to have a forum to talk about policing. I'll be on a panel with the chief of police from Aurora, as well as the chief of police from Denver. Also, I have some excellent news, and that is the task force to reimagine policing and public safety. I've had the honor and the privilege of being the project coordinator and lead facilitator for that initiative. And we are now ready to submit the recommendations to City Council, the Director of Safety, the Mayor, and other city officials. So that's very exciting and very good news. All right, I want to talk about conflict and stress in the Black family. Two things that I want to share with you before I get started, and that is there's a lot of study that has been done around the effects of slavery, Jim Crow, or rather there is a healthy amount of study. I don't say a lot, but a healthy amount of study around slavery and Jim Crow, racism, segregation, discrimination, and its impact on the African-American family and the way the African-American family functions. Many of you are familiar with perhaps the lead commentary on this subject, which was written by Dr. Joy DeGruy in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. If you don't have that book, you need to go out there and get it. Also, and this is one that you may not be familiar with, there is another scholar by the name of Rachel Yehuda. Rachel Yehuda is a specialist who deals with intergenerational transmission of trauma, intergenerational transmission of trauma, also known as epigenetics. So we're going to be looking at over the next few days what both Dr. Joy DeGruy as well as Rachel Yehuda have brought to this subject to help us to understand more about the impact of Jim Crow, racism, slavery, etc., on the way the African-American family functions. Now, those of you who are familiar with Unboxed, we know one thing, and that is we recognize that it is counterproductive to spend the majority of our time trying to point blame to who is responsible for the challenges that any family or organization is facing. What is more productive is once we've gathered the facts, to then begin to figure out what role am I playing in perpetuating the system. So this is one thing a lot of times that it becomes challenging to ask victims, which is what role am I playing in the victimization of myself? And let me just give you one quick example, and then we're going to talk about conflict and stress. One quick example. At the end of the movie, Black Panther, not Pink Panther, Black Panther. At the end of the movie, Killmonger made a very profound statement. I'm going to butcher it because I don't have it in front of me, but he said, let me die with my ancestors who jumped over the ships into the sea because they knew that death was better than bondage. And so you say, well, hold on, what does that have to do with what you're talking about? One of the things is you look at, what role are we playing in this? Even slaves said, some slaves said, I'm going to break this system that is going on, or at least I'm not going to be a part of the system that is taking place, even if that means that I have to die. and all great leaders. So sometimes we have to sit and ask ourselves, what role, what part am I playing in perpetuating the victimization and the trauma that is being inflicted upon me? Does that mean that the victimizers get to walk off guilt-free? No. But when you're 13% of the population, when you don't have the guns and you don't manufacture guns, you don't manufacture your own food, you don't have ways to control the roads, the air, or the rail, and that you are only, again, 13% of the population, then what you have to do is figure out, okay, now, since I can't blame the other man, nor do I have the military force to just overthrow the other man, then the question I have to ask myself is, how do I begin to identify the challenges and then to develop strategies to confront them? This is whether it's policing, whether it is economics, education, or any of the myriad of things that face the Black community. We have to ask ourselves, hold on, how can we as a people take ownership and move ourselves forward? How do we take ownership and move ourselves forward? Again, this is not to absolve the racist systems that have been set up in this nation to oppress us. No, but if we're going to unbox the power and the potential of our people, unbox the power and the potential of our families, Black families in particular, then we really do have to look internally as well as externally and to say, okay, what am I going to do? That's the $1 million question. What am I going to do different so that I get a different outcome? As I shared with you before, Claude Anderson in his book, Powernomics, which again is another one that I recommend everybody reads, he talks about how throughout the history of our nation, African Americans have pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. And every time we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, they found a new way to knock us down. We build our own banks, they burn the banks to the ground, take our money. We start our own farms, and then they find a way to come in and burn the farms down. But you know what he says? He said, yes, that has happened over the years. And that can be very discouraging, disheartening, and depressing. But one of the things that we have to do, especially as a Black family, as a Black church, as a Black community, is to say, you know what? We're going to build again. We're going to build again, and we're going to build again, and we're going to build again, and we're going to continue to build until we are successful at knocking down this power structure that is set in place to oppress us. Now, because of slavery, and when you study epigenetics, when you study generational trauma transmission, because of these psychological realities, post-traumatic slave syndrome, and these other psychological realities, we have to identify how they have caused us to manage tension, stress, conflict, and anxiety within our families. And then we have to say, moving forward, this is what we're going to do to change things. So here's what's going to happen over these next several days. We are going to begin talking about how we move forward. We're going to identify how families manage stress, how our experiences as African Americans have impacted the way that we manage stress, conflict, tension, and anxiety. And then we're going to talk about how we can do it in a healthy and productive way. I'm excited about going on this journey with you. Will you go on it with me? Let's do that together, my friends. I'm going to be back here tomorrow evening, and we're going to jump right back into this subject. Until then, love, laugh, live, and unbox all the power and the potential of your family. Have a good night.
Seasoned with Grace, Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.